Hi, this is Emma from Centered Within, and I wanted to talk about when you make a change and you've made it, or something comes to a natural ending. Like for me at the moment, I was working with my mentor for 3.5 years, and that's finished now. Now, I chose for that to finish, or there may be something that you've chosen to finish or step away from, or whatever it might be. And then you think, well, why do I feel upset? Because I made the choice. I'm the one, because it's still a grieving process, because it's still a change. We sometimes think we should only grieve when it's something that we either haven't chosen, it's been taken away from us, or it's a really horrible situation. There's all different levels of grief. And the cycle will be the same. Sometimes you'll go through it quicker, sometimes not so much, sometimes you'll get stuck, sometimes the stages are all in different order because it depends on how you are, what the situation is, and there are so many things involved. But when there's ever a change, there's always a grieving process, but it's just different levels to it. Because sometimes, like the small change, insignificant change, you won't even recognize because you will go through that process very quickly. But it's not just for something that's bad that's happened, difficult, or you had no choice, or it was taken away from you. It can still happen when you have made the choice. And sometimes that's like, well, why should I be sad? Because I've decided this to be, because it's a change. It's something that's no longer going to be in your life. So you honour that. If you're sad, feel sad. If you doubt, feel doubt. Because doubt will come in. You think, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe it wasn't my time to finish. Maybe I should have carried on and done some more. Maybe allow that to come through. If you are crying, cry. It's honouring what you have chosen to do. It's honouring how you're feeling instead of burying it because you think you should not be feeling this. Why should you not be feeling it? There are no rule books about what you should feel at what point. What you should be feeling is feeling what you're feeling and allowing that it's not unusual or weird, or this is not a bad situation, so therefore I should. It's allowing, it's acknowledging, it's thinking, today I need to look after myself even more than I normally do. Today maybe I need to change what I normally do. Maybe I need to change my routine a bit. And it's looking at yourself and the situation through eyes of compassion, eyes of love for you and the situation. And maybe what I find helps me is writing it down. I always have done since the very moment I really started my healing journey. And this was way before my mentor, because I worked with a life coach as well. And then I had a gap in between. So let's say 5 years, I started writing. And when my life coach first said to me, I just, gosh, the thought of writing, I was like, oh, I don't really want to. I gave it a go and I've never stopped. I mean, I have journals all over the place. I have one big one. I have one, I'm in a, I don't know what it is. I'm in a stage of my life at the moment that I carry a book. I've always carried books around with me, but I carry a little journal around as well. So sometimes I'm out and about and I'll write notes. It could be how I'm feeling. It could be ideas coming through. It could be anything that's coming through. But it's quite a new thing that I'm doing. So I'm just going with it. Sometimes I will start something and it will last, like my journal, last throughout. And I find there's concentrations of it, like I'll write and write and write and write and write. And then other times it will be a paragraph. But when I first started, I thought, oh, what's going on here? Why am I writing loads? You've just got to sense what feels right for you in the moment as well. And maybe you find that there's a period of time that you write a lot because there's a lot of things that you need to get up and out. You may be writing a lot because you have all these ideas, but you don't really know what they are, so you're just bringing them through. Or just a sense of the day, a sense of the moment, and just leave it be. You may find exercise, you may find movement. Now, exercise and movement are different, because if you're going for exercise and it's for a purpose of whatever it might be, you want to change the shape of your body. But movement, it can be dancing, it can be walking, it can be yoga, it can be it can still be you going into the gym, but it's not for the form of exercise, it's for the form of movement, of releasing the energy that's in your body. So it's the intention of that. Because you can still walk with no intention, you can still dance with no intention, but the movement is placing an intention, or the intention is placing in the movement of release. You're releasing, you're letting go. So that can be a form. It can be, some people love to cook, and it's the movement of that. It's the engagement, the connection of the dish, the ingredients, how it's going to look, how it's going to feel, how it's going to taste. There are many different ways. Sometimes you have to start the thing to know if you're going to want to do it or not. Sometimes you have to start the thing to know that you're going to adapt, grow and evolve what you're doing. But it's finding something that supports you and allowing it to support you, not confining it in a said way because that's how people do it. That's what you should do. That's how it's meant to look. That's how it's meant to start, middle and finish. Sometimes when we start something, it's good to follow parameters like that because you don't know. But once you do know that I actually quite like using this, then you put your spin on it. Because if you do it like, oh, I've got to do it like this and I've got to do it like this, then it becomes sometimes a chore. You're like, oh, I've got to do that thing again. Yeah, because if I do that thing, it's going to make me feel better. No, that's just like another layer you're adding on top. It's not really releasing it. It's just like what you're trying to release, you're putting a layer on top of like, oh, I should do this. Or I haven't done this the right way. Oh, I've done it wrong. So it changes it. But admittedly, yes, to begin with, there is good reason to follow someone, to almost copy what they're doing. I've done that loads of times with them. My mentor, people I've followed on varying social media platforms. But then I've made it my own. But I could only do that when I started it first, when I began using the tool that they were sharing. Yes, I've kept journaling, but I journal in varying different ways. As I said earlier on, it depends on what I'm going through. It depends on how I'm journaling and what I'm journaling and what's coming through. And it changes all the time. I was going through a massive period of time of just writing loads and loads of affirmations, which I hadn't done for ages. Excuse me. And then I stopped. And now it's like thoughts and ideas and feelings. So I remember when I started, I kept very rigid in doing things in a certain way or doing all of it. But then I noticed, I was like, oh, I'm not really. And then I was changing it. And I will write the way that I write for as however long. But I know what I will do consistently is right. It's just how I write will change. And you might find that with movement of your body. But the point is the consistency of it. Whether it changes, that's fine, because you're adapting it to maybe what's going on, how you're feeling, or you just totally, figured a new way of doing something. But it's the consistency of it. It's like a discipline. It's like I meditate every single day. Yeah, some days I don't meditate. Like I actually haven't yesterday. I haven't meditated today. I may meditate later on, but consistently I meditate every single day. Usually it's still my meditation at the moment, but I went through a huge stage where it was always guided meditation. Or I went through a stage where it's still mind in the morning and guided later on. But it was a consistent practice. And that's the thing. That's the thing that's worked for me, is consistency. And it's been a discipline. And it is work, because sometimes you don't really want to do it. Gosh, do I really want to do it? Now, you've got to discern between, is this becoming a chore or you're just avoiding? Because if it's becoming a chore, then it's maybe something you need to change. And that chore will add on. But if you're avoiding it, like at the moment, I am doing like a slow moving yoga before bed. So it's like long stretching, holding the pose. I think, what did someone say? It was yin yoga. So it's very slow release, stretch. And it can be very confronting because it's really slow, and you're facing a lot of energy that's trapped. You're releasing a lot of things, and things do come out. So I know there has been times where I don't want to do this because I don't want to face how I'm feeling. So I'd rather not, thank you very much. So sometimes you have to discern between the two. Are you trying to avoid it because you don't want to look at something, you don't want to acknowledge something, you don't want to feel something? Or is it becoming a chore? That takes practice. That does take practice. You don't know straight away. But when you keep doing something, you start to learn and understand and gain wisdom. And the more that you do this with a practice with you, the more you get to understand who you are. And this is where this all comes from. It starts with you. Yes, you do use external things, and I will continue to use external things, but the more I've learned who I am, the more it starts with me. Of course, there are certain elements in my life I do need to go to someone that knows more of that subject or is experienced in that subject, because I need to get an understanding. But I may listen to them, I may follow them, I may buy a program for them. And I will find out what of that works for me, how I can use that in my life. Because it is my life, the way I choose to live my life, the way I decide to live my life. I no longer use the external as an imprint for my life. I did, because I didn't trust me, I didn't understand me, I didn't know me. So that external was like an imprint. I'll take that and I'll use that. I'll take that and I'll use that. And I'll take that and I'll use that. Now, if you're doing that, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Because we all need to start somewhere. But the more you choose your life and decide, because you're listening to you, you're understanding you, you've got a connection, a relationship with you, the less and less you'll use the external. You'll use external as a point of reference, not as a point of like, that's how it should be. The world is a reference library. And there is so much to learn from the external. But there is so much to discern from the external. So much. There was a time that I could only tap into the external. The external was the right way. The external was the only way. It's almost like my internal didn't even exist. And it's only years later that I trust. And I still have doubt. I still worry. I still, what have I done? I still cry. I'm still sad. I'm still angry. I still have all those feelings. But I have so many tools that I've learned from other people. So many of them I've adapted and changed to suit me. So many that I've actually found myself. And that's from a little bit of information here, a little bit of information there. And I've made this tool myself. And the more tools that you have, some tools you'll use all the time, some tools you'll use now and again. You'll make new ones, you'll learn new ones, because you'll follow something and think, oh my God, that's such a good idea. That's amazing. Why didn't I think of that before? Because you didn't need it before. It wasn't going to be of any purpose to you anymore. That didn't make sense. It wasn't going to be. It wasn't of purpose to you at that time, but it is now. The information will come into your life when you're ready to hear it. The information will come into your life when you're ready to use it. The information will come into your life when you're ready to take it and adapt it to how you want it to look, taste, feel, touch, whatever it may be. Because other information will just go, you won't even recognize it. You won't see it. You won't feel it. You won't understand it because it's not ready for you. So if you ever you come across something, well, why didn't I do that before? Because you were not ready to do that before. That message was always there. It doesn't suddenly go ping. Messages are sitting around us the whole time. In the energy, there are messages the whole time. So when you next feeling sad, doubting your decision, and think, why am I so upset? I chose this. I decided to walk away. This was a natural ending, so I shouldn't be upset. Allow yourself to be. Acknowledge how you feel. Honor how you feel. Honor the ending of whatever it is, whether you chose it or not, whether it was a natural ending, whatever it is, honor that. Honor you. Write it down. Move your body. Cook a meal. Walk in nature. Look at nature. Read. Sit in stillness with a cup of coffee, tea, herbal drink, lemonade, whatever it might be. Honor it. Don't think, right, well, I'll do this for a day and then that's it. You may feel like that for one day and the next day feel, oh, great, fabulous. It is a grieving cycle which should always be honoured. Was it this woman, her name's Tiani Talk, she's an astrologer. She's really good. She's really, really good. She's on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. I think she's Tiani Talks on all of her channels. And she said, grief demands attention. Now, depending on what you're grieving or depending on the level of attention, of course. But no matter what, it still demands attention, because if you bury it, and you can bury it, and you can bury it really well for a long, long time. But what do you have to bury it? What do you have to use? And what's it doing once it's buried? because it's still there. It hasn't gone, it's still there. It demands attention. It demands your attention. It's you honouring that. Because when we honour that, when we allow it, there's a process we go through. And when we have the tools, that process becomes something that we can support ourselves more and more. Even through the floods of tears, the worry, the doubt, we can still support ourselves. I'm just seeing if there's anything else that needs to come through. I think that's it. As always, sending you so much love.